electricity as Rika gives over the first pentakill of LEC 2025. Vladi! No! Vladi sucks the blood dry. That shuffle was legendary.
G2 are quickly slipping.
Oh, a snipe from Hansama.
Canna getting lower and lower the platform from Targamas. He knocks back one. He knocks something into the sky. Severing bolt connects. It's godlike.
Broken blade now. It's enough, it's enough! Just gobbles them up! Nom 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 nom.
In the arena, only the strongest survive. Only those with the tenacity to overcome all odds and expectations can stand tall and claim the glory of a win on this hallowed stage. Our first team is no stranger to that glory, to titles, or to dismantling the dreams of their opposition. Even with 2 new players, they are undeniable, they are unstoppable. Your 2024 Winter, Spring, Summer, and Season champions, it's G2 Esports! In the top lane, Broken Blade! Their jungler, SkewMond! Support Labrov! Their coaches, Dylan Falco and Rodrigo. Give it up for G2! Their challenger, a team built around 2 prodigal carries looking to defy expectations. Hungry for revenge and revolution, it's Karmine Corp! And top lane, Canna! Jungle, Yike! Mid lane, Vladi! The Prodigy, Caliste! Support Targamas! Joined by coaches Rhea and Apples. Give it up for KC! Berlin, one more time for your winter finalists! Two teams, 10 players, the best our region has to offer, but only one will reign supreme! The finals starts now!
I think Kickoff has definitely surprised me a lot. I didn't expect them to be as good as they were, I guess. I think not only did Yike and Caliste make a huge change, I think also like Vladi has stepped up big time.
Vladi can pick up the slap. Vladi on a killing spree. Targamas able to use the Mikhail's humanoid caught out. That's big. It's Vladi buying a bit more time. Vladi who's about to fall. Vladi who is still standing. No one can take this man down. Severing bolt connects and Vladi is godlike.
The amount of talent they've amassed on that team is crazy. Vladi and Caliste are 2, other than SkewMond, like biggest upcoming players of that generation of player, and they got 2 of them.
Fnatic public execution coming up. Canna instantly to the backside. Humanoid going golden. It's Upset who has to make the difference, but it's Upset who's slowed. Upset who's getting run down. Upset who's been taken out. Razork has to go as well. Casey take the exchange and likely the game.
I'm putting a lot of work each day to be the best version of myself, so at some point, if I'm doing the good things, it should show up.
Cap's still looking for more, and they're not climbing that blue wall.
If I didn't went to final on my first bit, I would be really ashamed. I think we mega choked against G2. Individually, I'm not gonna show the same performance. Good luck to G2 bot lane.
Finds a trade kill onto Noah now. SkewMond jumps in, gets the cleanse, an auto, the Aegis assault, and the Marshall poise!
SkewMond, that was sick!
Showing that I deserve to be in G2 will be the most important thing for me.
As I said before, that my goal is to win without Caps and BB and Hans, and I think we're gonna beat them next time.
Targamas going all in. Him and the Grubs trying to tag team Razork. Razork going in.
Yike is a really great player. I've actually started watching him back in 2021, and I actually saw how he improved like throughout the year, and he won everything. Second division, LFL, LEC obviously with G2. I have a lot of respect for him. The fact that he's showing great results with KC as well shows that he doesn't need G2 to win.
Now going in, curtain call out. Humanoid likely to fall. Mickey X has the body block, but it doesn't matter. They just line up for Vladi.
Next. Nice. Good job, guys. Good job.
They're going to finals.
Canna's still on that front line, but the dive onto the back. Caliste locked up, G2 find another. Means it's a triple for BB, a quadruple for BB. Get back here, Yike! Get back here!
We'll keep fighting until the very end, and even though the game is looking tough, we've been there before and we won those. And our opponents know that we won those as well, so it's a lot of fun and I'm just looking forward to the final.
I think G2's era of dominance will end this year.
Not another usual G2 finals. Instead, it's G2 versus KC in what can only be described as the legacy versus the uprising between these two teams. My name is Aatrox, and I'm going to be joined by Dagda and Varus for one of your favorite tricasts of the evening that'll take you into this best of 5 Fearless finals to cement first stand.
And we're not going to waste any time as we jump straight into the draft. As is consistent for G2, they're going to remain with the Ambessa ban on the blue side. Draven targeted towards Caliste as well.
It does mean that I'm looking at things like the Skarner probably going to be banned away here by KC. This has kind of been the Skarner Caliste staple on the red side the last time we saw these two teams face up. But things like the Zyra, the Pantheon that were consistently banned away by KC on that blue side, now going to be open. I'm curious if that's where they want to try and lay their stake here.
Let's see if the jungle gets banned to finish it off as well. For KC, another option there is Caliste is the main thing taken away so far.
Skarner, Vi, Maokai, a lot of the traditional EU priority picks are open, and they're going to be left open as KC issues the challenge. G2, are you going to look to lock in the Skarner? We know that it's been a power pick throughout the regular season, pretty much throughout the entire world, especially in playoffs, but does G2 want to prioritize it?
I would be surprised if they didn't. I mean, I do feel like Yike, though, has answers into it, like the Ivern that we saw from him. He looked great on it yesterday. So I think that's why G2, instead, going to go over towards the Ezreal, trying to secure that strong bot lane. And it looks like maybe the Skarner are just actually going to slip on through the draft.
Yike more than happy to take the Zyra as a matchup into it. We know fast-clearing junglers often do relatively well into the Skarner. Along with that, Zyra's just great with the disengage. She loves champions that come into her. So even if G2 do decide to lock in the Skarner, I think it would be a great response. With the AD carry already locked in on the side of G2, it looks like KC wants to prioritize getting Caliste, one of his best champions from Winter.
Hans Ezreal 5-0, by the way. Looks like that's why G2 want to make sure he's on the best. Maokai on the other side is going to go into the jungle most likely here in EU. And again, that Varus for Caliste. We've got favourites here now taken out for the rest of the series in this Fearless format.
Yeah, I'm now wondering what SkewMond wants to go for. Does he end up going for the Skarner? Do you want to try and opt in towards the Zyra so then you can try and play that disengage but also open up some of that AD mids?
Wow.
Or is it just go towards the Vi? So it will be just going in that direction towards the Vi. Leona going to follow up, so strong dive, strong single target CC, and it looks like G2 looking to just put the hurt onto KC in this game.
This will be SkewMond's first Vi of the playoffs, a champion that they've largely conceded in favor of things like the Pantheon in particular. But so far, not going to be the priorities. Jungler's locked in. We imagine the support's going to be the response. Will it be the Rell? Oh, it looks like the prioritization around the mid lane for Vladi. We know that, I mean, as an individual, he's had a fantastic start to 2025, and they want to give him agency and perhaps look to pinch Caps' pool a little bit more here in game one.
I am also curious about things like the rumble that could potentially be coming in that top side, because when you have that Vi, the pairing alongside the equalizer is so strong with the cease and desist. So I think that's a combo G2 could look towards, open up AD mids for caps, but the control mages are still what they're worried about. They're going to get rid of the Aurora.
Well, the Aurora, the space is important. Note that things like the Orianna as well have been considered along the same lines. Brom taken away as they start pinching out the support pool from Targamas. What we see so far, there's no pairing with the Varus.
I wonder if they'll consider something like a Lulu to ban away as well, especially when G2 have set their sights on looking to get access to the backline. They want to kill Caliste as often as they can. Very similar to what we saw in the previous series, where remember, when we last saw Handsummer's Ezreal versus Caliste's Varus, they were able to get first blood straight up in the 2 versus 2.
Yeah, things like the Rakan also very strong here, so I'm not really sure what they want to try and go for. Not the best matchup in the lane, but I mean, let's be real, lane swaps exist, so you can always just avoid that. But I'm going to go for the Gnar instead. Top lane potential support, though, I would imagine for Targamas here going to be answered. Either the Rell or the Rakan, not the end of the world here.
Let's have a quick step back to top lane, though. Remember, Jay still exists here, and Canna is a Korean top laner who knows how to play the hell out of that champion, especially with the range. So we keep that in the back of our mind here while we think about the support counter, leaving Canna with more options. Rell, like you guys said, in Europe since week 1 to now, Rell has just been a mainstay.
She certainly has been. Now, what has Broken Blade prepared for us? He has been a standout this year. I mean, for G2 over the last few years, as he has risen to the top of the ranks as the best top laner the EU has to offer. He has been cooking all sorts of creative champions, and for anyone that's been paying attention to his solo queue, you know that he had been preparing some special picks. But for game 1, we're gonna get an Ornn.
Look, it happens. You build him up only for it to tear it down immediately, but it does make sense, right? You've got great teamfight potential here, a strong front to back. You want that ease of engage and the follow-up for the Vi, and the Ornn offers that, but the Orianna is a surprise to me.
I have to wonder now, though. We've seen the Gwen already as an answer into the Ornn.
True.
Things like Camille, maybe even a Fiora on the top side of the map. Canna, we know him traditionally as a carry player. What carry will he look to bring into Broken Blade?
The only thing I'm worried about with the Gwen is the amount of AP damage you potentially have there, so maybe you swap into the Jax to get some of that hybrid.
I love this
and then
hover.
Aatrox could work as well here, but at least something that has a bit of carry potential, but it is going to be at the Aatrox for Canna and answer to the Ornn. Kind of an old school counter, because you're able to get so much of that knock up. There's a ton of CC in your kit, so the value you get from the Bellows Breath isn't quite there for that Ornn.
To me, it reads at KC, if they pick off a member of G2, if they find someone isolated, that target's dead like that. Look at the lockdown created in this game 1 draft.
I mean, it's important to realize that in terms of early skirmishes, I favor the ability that Vi is going to generate alongside the Orianna, but Aatrox plus the Maokai, you have a lot of setup and a lot of potential early damage when it comes to that top side of KC. I think their ability to gain control around objectives with the poke that they have thanks to the Varus and the Taliyah. I am anticipating the poke Varus to come through from Caliste. We'll see which build he decides to go for, but honestly, I really like the adaptations that KC have made in this game 1 draft, and I like the options that they brought against G2, who's gone for a very traditional front-to-back team fight.
Yeah, the only concern with G2 is the lack of consistent DPS. A huge amount of that rests on Handsummer now. Handsummer's Ezreal has been exceptional, so I'm not taking a knock at him. It's just if this Orianna ult doesn't hit onto key targets, suddenly you have Canna, who is going to be very tough to take down. You've got Maokai who can stand in front of this strong front line, so there is a loss of carries on KC that you have to deal with, and that damage needs to land from G2 if you hope to do so.
You need a standout performance, because remember, they already went up against each other in a 3-1. G2 rolled their way into the finals first. They've been waiting, and now they've waited for a rematch here. It is our usual Kings in the final, in their 7th consecutive final, versus the Rebellion Uprising of KC in their first. In this best of 5 field, we welcome you to decide our first stand recipient, as well as another championship.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
The crowds are out in force today, both in support of the red and black and the blue wall. A line of scrimmage will be the standard start, nothing too crazy. The potential for a delayed invade is there on the side of KC. Question is whether or not they will run the risk. You can see G2 stacking with both Caps and Labrov at the ready for that potential bot side invade. But it looks like it's not going to come through. The swap being enacted by G2 as they send their bot side up towards top. making things a little bit harder for the Aatrox so that he doesn't get I would say a strong lane into the Ornn. Maybe the first few levels, Ornn can bully out the Aatrox, but you can see how this would be a very favorable matchup that Canna would love to play the 2v2 in.
It's the same as well with Caliste. He opts in towards a Hail of Blades over the Arcane Comet. Comet gives you more value in the later game, but the Hail of Blades much more value in that 2v2. But by avoiding that, G2 operate better for Hansama. Broken Blade, as Vedi was highlighting, much better in the lane swap. He's way less prone to repeat and Tove. So I think this is where G2 off to at least a smart start with these swaps.
Already with a really nice trade from Vladi in the mid lane. The experience denial will begin from the AD carries on both sides as SkewMond starts on his bot side of the map, while Yike looks to do something similar on the top side. Right now, the main goal from these top laners is to get as much XP as possible.
It is kind of rare to see them start straight in the lane, you know, minute 2, isn't it? Because a lot of the time we've seen the duos start mid with top laners absorbing experience to 2, waiting for the 3rd wave, teleporting in, and then trying to get all that crash in for extra experience that you mentioned, Vedi. So again, as Canna tries to step up as much as possible, Targamas is now hovering to see what he can do to enhance.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? When you end up sticking the top laner in lane, you can just rotate the support now to keep him safe as the wave crashes. So Canna going to gather all that experience. You don't end up setting your mid laner behind as they are offset on that experience counter.
True.
And now Canna should be completely fine here. You're also looking at where SkewMond is on the map. He's only just starting in towards his top side jungle, so there isn't really going to be any threat of a dive, but at least Canna will be able to farm safe.
As the push comes in, yeah, Targamas still hovering in Fog of War. He'll probably get level 2 off this as well. He's half the way there to share. And after a couple of minions, should be there as well. While we have a bit of a luller in the early game, just a quick reminder, a new head-to-head is brewing, isn't it? And this is, people will look at this and be like, so what about G2 KC? Where's their head at? We've only had a year of data, guys. So, of course, G2 have their head-to-head, but as of recently, KC actually got a bit of a leg up.
Yeah, they were able to win a game in the regular season. They also were able to take a game off of G2 during the best of 5 series that we saw them play last week. But really, it has been G2 favored. As you know, you will find against most organizations in the LEC, they do have a bit of a tendency of winning. It has kind of been the tradition of G2 throughout the years, and that's why I think so many people are excited about this KC roster, just because of the potential that they've demonstrated. A combination of veteran and champions alongside promising rookies from the ERLs that could potentially look to beat out on the long-standing, well, reigning titans that are these G2 players.
Good sidestep there, Vladi. Just run out of mana, so no more.
Yeah, it's just a nice gank from Yike. Immediately kind of moves in, keeps that pressure on towards Caps. Now Vladi can get the reset, teleport back in. And at least at the moment, KC, they managed to get Canna into this matchup against Broken Blade, but you can see he's just going to reset. Hansama and Labrov are already moving down towards this bottom side of the map, so it is going to be this push-pull again as both bot lanes try to move around to find that match, at least if you're KC, but G2 want to avoid it.
Good defensive ward set up there by KC as Labrov, anywhere he moves towards mid, will be spotted out immediately. Actually, some defensive wards up and top side as well. So, line of scrimmage, you'll call it, as Targamas thinks, how do I find my way into Caps who's at half HP?
We'll say Vladi is playing this lane very well. Oh, nice ignite from Labrov to cancel the back, forcing Canna to stick around. Could be a bit of a dangerous situation for him. Fortunately for him, though, great vision investment on the bot side of G2's jungle coming out from KC, so they can keep track, and you'll notice the pings on the minimap coming through onto SkewMond. Canna should feel pretty safe.
It's also a big interrupt though on getting that tempo on the map. You look at Broken Blade on that top side, he started this slow push now on the top end, so Canna going to lose out on all that experience, whereas Caliste and Targamas are able to collect theirs on the bottom side, and this is kind of the danger in this lane swap meta, are going for some of these carries that can't survive by themselves, is Canna's now slipping behind a full level behind Broken Blade, and an Aatrox that's behind is way less valuable than an Ornn.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same power to it, like Cassante's, like Ornn's. That's why, we think about the lane swap and what can survive and be useful in the 5v5. So now we might get that answer to the question, because Yike is poking his little head in to see what SkewMond is doing. Dragging into the way of the sapling, but good damage going down thanks to the ocean. And SkewMond now at half HP, and KC just take the leash. No reset, not even a soft one. Thanks so much for the first strike.
Caps is very close at level 6 on midwave. You can see just nearly there, but doesn't quite have it. And if he'd maybe been able to hit that 6, you can see now he has it. Then you could have taken the fight as G2, but at the moment, the Orianna with the tier start just doesn't do that much, whereas Vladi has much more to offer in the CC department. So G2 have to give it up. They just can't fight against KC right now.
That's a level 6 Ornn versus level 4 Aatrox. And the trades are going in favor of Broken Blade. He's really benefited from the lane swap initiated by G2. This is the position that they wanted to find themselves in. Also gotten himself an early Bramble Vest to help in the trades on the top side of the map. And SkewMond will have time to be able to cross-map and secure the grubs as Targamas makes his way towards mid.
Yike is over the wall. I was just waiting to see if all three will go over. And this would be a second objective that SkewMond gets forced off, but Yike can't get too much apart from information, and Caps, with his reasonable push in mid, seems like as well he can zone him off. Quick side note as well, the auto attack from Aatrox, one of the best healing factors of the champion as well. When you auto another champion, that's what the Bramble looks to help out with as well. 3 grubs down, and at least G2 getting something back here in this early game after the Dragon was yoinked from them only moments ago.
And trying to keep my eyes on Targamas because he wandered up towards the objective, decided, nah, I'm not really interested, started to move back down. Now back in mid, it looks like they're trying to set up a play on towards Caps, or at least help Vladi push this wave in, but hasn't quite been able to do so, and now does need to reset to keep his timer with Caliste. So Vladi in a bit of an awkward spot with the wave state, especially as you can see Broken Blade is missing from top and is kind of poking around mid.
7 minutes in, and you have to turn your attention towards the location of the supports, as they're a key part of what makes things happen in the transition from the early to the mid game. You'll notice both hovering around the mid lane right now. Yike grouping up with Targamas, setting their sights on Caps. Orianna always very vulnerable when she loses her flash.
Big shout out to Vedius giving supports gratification. Like, I don't think any support has ever been told that their role is that crucial. So, again, for Targa and Labrov, as they
keep your eyes on Targa right now.
That's what I'm doing, because the seismic shove came in and he gets a crash down. Caps might be in a bit of trouble. Shattering Strike, poke, flash, dissonance, shockwave. SkewMond, though, not going to charge back in. Caps lucky to be alive, and no teleport means he doesn't want to miss out on too much of this push.
But it is a big summoner spell burn from Caps. He manages to escape as Vladi just doesn't have enough in the tank to finish it off, but Targamas loses a little bit of health, he'll be fine. But if now you can revisit that lane, especially with Yike having hit 6, the flash gone is crucial.
The reality is, though, that, as Dagda was saying, an important summoner spell that now sets them up nicely for the next incoming dragon, right? The objective fights for this Orianna are going to be a lot scarier, as Canna and Yike and Targamas are all going to be setting their sights onto Caps.
This sucks. This lane is horrible. I mean, Dagda, your point couldn't be more fluid here. That 1.5 level lead for Broken Blade, or about 1 now, is really suffering for Canna. There's a 300 gold lead up top. He's constantly up against his turret. Ornn has lane superiority, and it feels like it's going to stay that way until, what, 1 item for Aatrox, 2 item for Aatrox, when he can actually trade back.
Well, that's the thing. Even if Canna gets into fights, you can either go for the I'm going to all in on hoping I get some kills in a fight and keep building towards your main items. Canna's opted in towards the Cole, so this is a guy that says, I want to sit in the side lane, I want nothing to do with the rest of you, and I'm just going to hope that I can survive this 1v1 for a little while and then pop that Cole. And it does mean that for KC, they're essentially operating on a bit of a 4.5 versus 5 in the meantime. So I think that's where G2 are going to look to try and use the fact that you've got Broken Blade's TP up and available for that next dragon, especially if they're KC are looking for a play into Caps. Just have that numbers advantage in your back pocket.
I like the approach from both teams that for a game 1, take it slow, solid, don't do anything too overcomplicated. Both compositions have a straightforward and easy way to execute, and while it may seem that Casey's is a little bit more complicated in a sense, in reality it's not. Maokai presses R, Rell presses R, and like they just kind of follow up on each other. True. The big advantage that Casey will be able to leverage is that they have a lot of poke at their disposal. Varus has a ton of range, Taliyah has a lot of zone control with the poke that she has from her Q, and I think that the great thing about Casey's comp is whether they're first or second on the objective, they have tools to both hold their position and also retake a position, simply thanks to the power of Maokai.
Oh, flash burn though from Yike. Dissonance gets movement speed, and there's no phase rush there, but now for Yike, he'll just pop on top. He'll have his own Nature's Grasp. He's going to roll and catch 2. Vladi doesn't have much available. Caps is getting poked out, but again, he might survive on no HP. The shockwave was huge, but there's not enough damage in the kit yet. It's True Shot Barrage. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It's rolling, and it takes its first victim.
G2 get first blood in the series. It looked like Caps was about to fall, but barely he ekes out, and somehow Sama gets the kill.
A forced play by Yike is punished by Caps. There was a bit of miscoordination in the execution there, simply because as the knockback came through from Vladi, the root hadn't quite connected from Yike's ultimate. Then he knocks him back as Targamas is engaging as well. A very few but significant execution errors result in G2 finding an outplay and getting first blood.
How painful is it that Caps twice now has gotten out on less than 100 HP, and Casey have nothing to show for it. Quite a lot burned there, and even though grubs are being taken, which will make 3 for 3, the dragon stacking is stopped. You guys told me this is a very big team fighting composition from G2. And when you have those dragon stacks for a comp like this, it's such good news as the Zenith's blade does connect, but Targamas is going to crash out.
It's also the fact that G2 are essentially... No way.
He just spat on the grub. He spat on Yike, then the grub.
I cannot believe Broken Blade stole one of them away, but this is heartbreaking for KC because essentially G2 just want to babysit the early game. You have this Orianna that once she gets the 2 items really starts to pop off, so play for those big team fights when this Orianna becomes a real threat. The fact you're winning the skirmishes in the early game on top of that is just fantastic. Now, Hansama going to be able to arcane shift away, but like KC, the poke Varus much stronger in the early game. You would love to get ahead on this Aatrox and start to get into a position where you can carry in fights, but you're just not finding this early to mid-game spike from KC, and it's going the way of G2.
Because while my brain keeps computing through this and listening to what you guys have said, I look at this and, you know, with all the burst that comes out, and you talked about Maokai engaged before Vladi as well, if Aatrox finds something, he resets and he goes with it, as Vladi will not be going anywhere. He's stuck in place. A shockwave hits him again. He flashes away, though. It's a good counterplay. In comes Yike and bops down Labrov. Caps has no mana to follow up on the play, and that's 1 for KC.
The shockwave was a little awkward from Caps because it actually drew Vladi underneath the tower, meaning that Labrov had to commit a little bit harder than he wanted to in order to follow up with the CC, allowing for KC to get that counterplay. We equalize in terms of kills. The gold finds itself dead even with KC finding a slightly small advantage. It's a tense game 1, which is exactly what we wanted for this best of 5.
And there's still so much to play for as actually SkewMond going to start to make his way up towards topside. Good ward. Spotting out this play, so Canna should be able to keep himself safe, but ultimate for Broken Blade available.
Ward finally spotted out. Looks like just wasn't looking that way. Control Ward actually denied, as I believe they came from jungle side. Regardless, KC small gold lead in this early game, and a side note as we get towards that 14-minute mark, the only lead in the lane for G2 right now is Broken Blade still on that Ornn.
Yeah, I think the downside for KC of so much of this pressure being towards the mid lane is that it's disabled Vladi from being able to go elsewhere with the Weaver's Wall, which is traditionally what you'd like to see with the Taliyah. So trying to play down towards Caliste, maybe look for some dives there. But KC now starting to set up vision control around this mid says to me this is exactly what they're trying to do. Find ways to unlock Vladi and get out to now help these side lanes. Caliste has been fine, but definitely if you can help out Canna and get some kills to kind of right the early game for him, he's going to be in a much better spot.
A lot of early power, isn't there, Vladi? That's what you're about to tell me, isn't it? There's a lot of early power on KC.
Well, I mean...
You don't have to if you don't.
I was thinking about, like, what do both teams want to do next, mainly, because with no objective for another 2 minutes, traditionally you set your sights on one side of the map, but I think it's quite awkward because it's difficult to play into Ezreal on one side of the map just because the mobility that he has. Meanwhile, do you really feel confident?
Ooh, again, Caps is in trouble. Remember, there's no phase rush Orianna. He's just going to be dead. There's again a solar flare, a turn is possible. Zen has played in because Labrov has nowhere else to go. He joined into Rome and wants the ignite down on Vladi, but he won't get it. A third kill over to KC, and this time the punish goes well.
Labrov thinking that he could get a cleanup kill at the end of it, but the Seraph's shielding provided by Vladi helps keep him alive. And ooh.
So Yike, new versus the old. Bramble smash away. Call the Forge God going to be used. Vladi is still low, but they turn for Yike. He's not tanking. He's got Oleandri's first, so he'll just talk down and chalk and meat. That's what he's made of. A shield into the wall. A shove brother as Canna is in the world ender, but he needs some kills. He needs a fast. He gets a knock up, and still SkewMond in a lot of trouble, but Hans has joined in. It's a good mention because Broken Blade has burnt down Vladi. This is a carry on as KC in a choke will find a shutdown of their own. A searing charge a bit too short. Hansama still following, and Labrov is now on the chase as well. With his flashes, Zena's blade is matched. A flash out before the play turns even more sour.
Huge flashes from KC to get away from that because G2's two side of the top side had done incredible work there to get KC into position where they were struggling. They've started to lose members. That was impressive from the two-man unit.
I like the play mid because I think that KC makes the right decision. Focus on the mid lane. Orianna is the easiest place to make plays on the map right now, and they start off with a really clean kill. And as we talked about earlier, Labrov thinking he could maybe get a cleanup kill here, then the Seraph's shield comes through, and it ends up being 2 quick kills. The part that surprises me is SkewMond and Broken Blade sees an angle here. The ward gets cleared out. Yike actually backtracks into the river, I think wanting to provide cover for his mid lane, and then SkewMond sees an angle to go for an engage.
Yeah, they end up going for Yike here, as Vladi's already gone underneath the tower. Canna is trying to move down, but the fact that you end up getting over the wall here sets up perfectly for SkewMond. Then they turn on towards Canna, who's starting to move in, but you have actually got enough damage. But look how much SkewMond's able to dodge away from in this position to just kind of keep himself alive. And Vladi can't press forward because of how low he is. Even Broken Blade flashing forward with the grass proc and then the Bellow's Breath to take him down. And in this position then, with Hans Sama now showing up, you end up with G2 having a numbers advantage. So it's a long play, but one that kind of ends up getting G2 back off of the initial scrap in mid.
I think that it has become a trend from teams to really target Caps as a player. I think this split, we were talking about it coming into the week where he is getting a little less jungle support than what we saw him when he was playing with Yike. It really is very marginal in terms of the actual amount of time that the jungle support's spending there, but teams are really looking to try and capitalize that. And KC, given the draft that they have, I think it makes so much sense. If you're able to burn the flash of this Orianna, it becomes a very easy target because forcing Orianna into a side lane is just not really where she wants to be.
I think it's also interesting to see the Rod of Ages first, this tankier build coming through, instead of going for the Leandries that we normally expect, right? But I think it does end up lending itself to, hey, I'm going to be a bit on my own, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable in this one, so that survivability is huge. But now on the Dragon, KC are in the area though.
They are, and the poke from Caliste is very real. Low mana bar is worth looking at, but the Nature's Grasp is going to zone off G2. They get away before this turns into an engage. Second Dragon of the game over to KC, just like that.
Crucially, KC pulled the trigger before Caps gets the reset off. He'd gone to potentially TP in, but KC had already started that one up. Wanted to keep Canna alone on this top side so he can continue to farm up as well. So KC end up getting it. G2 will trade for the Rift Herald. And this is where they can try and at least blow open on this mid lane turret. If you can get that one down, suddenly sets you up a lot easier to try and protect Caps on the side lane, because as we've said countless times here, this Orianna on a side lane is going to be the vulnerable part of G2.
As you can see, playing up towards the Herald now, that point is kind of ascended here by the fact that he's still setting up some defensive vision, making sure that SkewMond is not going anywhere soon, but as he leaves, he'll just have to back off the wave. I think this kind of furthers the point, right, guys? You're like, oh, Cap stepping forward here.
Well, look at the mini-map. I see Vladi.
And he's got the ulti. I mean, this is the point. Dagda, you've never been more right, and you're right all the time. A seismic shove, Caps gets slowed down, and after that bit of glazing, we just have to watch and Caps trying to play it out, the shockwave in a 1v1, but it's gonna get outnumbered real damn fast. A Magna Storm to stop the blast. Conan Vladi gets what he deserves. Now Call the Forge got him in, Caliste flashes away, but he's followed to Helm's Deep. He was followed. He gets out now because SkewMond is just on the turret by himself. It looked good, but he's just like the Orc running into the wall. Broken Blade now in the corner as well. He's got to get out of there somehow. But how? This Ornn over the wall wants to get out his TP. Is it there? It's cancelled. He tried to sneak out. You didn't see it in the corner of the eye, but he might be tanky, but how long does he survive this versus the Leandries? Maokai and Canna now with his first item too. It's a slow death. It's like watching paint dry, but eventually you can touch the wall again. Surely. And Canna's going to get the kill. A second shutdown of the game for this Aatrox.
I mean, KC find picks across the map. KC attack Caps in a side lane. They also prevent the dive from happening in the mid lane, and they just find kill after kill. They are responding to G2's aggression with excellence and patience, and they find themselves with a 3k gold lead here in game one.
And crucially, it's 1,000 gold lead for the Aatrox now after those kills. Thunder Sky completed, but we get on towards this dive as well as Caliste flashes away. They think they can go for him, but it's a great play from Yike, flashing on towards SkewMond. Broken Blade doesn't want to go under the tower because Canna's now TP'd in to catch up with Broken Blade, and here the pullback on the Infernal Chains is crucial as Broken Blade just can't quite get away. It becomes a little bit of a goose run after this one, where they're just trying to get Broken Blade. The Dead Man's Place actually causing a little bit of trouble because that's why he's so quick here, but they eventually do keep him in place.
My biggest criticism for KC in their last series against G2 was it felt like that they always responded to G2's plays by overstacking with numbers. And so then they just conceded the rest of the map and it allowed G2's fundamentals to consistently punish them. But this time around, I feel like KC's paying a lot more attention to where their lane assignments are, who can be where on the map. And while that action was happening on the bot side, Vladi is taking the top tower. They're not over-rotating, they're not over-committing their people, and this means that when G2 do overstep, KC's in a great position to punish.
I mean, it's a nice change, it's a good adaptation, because I know Teachius was giving us that invite a little bit before, about 20 minutes ago on the desk, so again, I gotta want to point to the gold lead, because 3.5k gold here for KC in the early game is fantastic. And it comes back to the point that you were just mentioning, where that Aatrox now being ahead was great because he needed resources in this game.
But the Ornn is the first move here, so that's why G2 are on Caliste.
Well, we hold it back for now, but Caliste, it's an easy miss. The sad bee flies, and Nature's Grasp is going to do a hell of a lot more. The Weaver's Wall as well, zoning them off from Broken Blade. It's on the wrong side. He's a tank who has to flash, but now for KC, they look to the left. They find Chains, and Labrov manages to get out until the last poke. And Ignite will take the tick.
G2 keep trying to cheat with Broken Blade in towards this mid lane, getting the fact that you have this Dead Man's Plate to move this Ornn quicker around the map. But KC are responding so incredibly well, and Caliste so safe underneath this tower with the rest of KC coming out of the jungle to his aid.
KC find themselves another kill. You can feel the momentum very quickly shifting in their favor. Dragon is spawning in about 40 seconds. We'll look back, and again, this play starts off from G2 as the ultimate from Broken Blade comes through. Caliste hits him with the sad bee, and then the response is just so quick. The wall divides the fight into two. They isolate Broken Blade. Meanwhile, as the supports battle it out, Labrov gets caught off by that ultimate and then chipped down by Vladi, and the finish of the Ignite from Targamas. Just a really nice response. And again, KC are responding well to the aggression from G2.
And it's the lack of movement from Caps as well. He was on this top side, didn't have the TP available. He does end up trading for that top side terror off the back of that, but this is where we kind of see G2. Oh, hang on.
Chain's Corruption are down. Labrov might not be as tanky as he wish he was. Hail of Arrows slows it down as well, but Caps is there. Nate scraps again, going to catch him out. Which way does he go? Searing charge to defend as the ulti catches him off. They want to use the poke, they want to use the range, and again, that big burst from KC. G2 is starting to get really scared every time they get caught.
Yike is always in the right place at the right time. Labrov, wait, I don't think that won't save.
He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. A hail of arrows, Labrov is dead in an instant.
And Dragon's up. This is the potential for the third Dragon for KC off the back of this. Caps is in base. TP nearly available for him, but I don't know how you try and fight this as G2 without Labrov here.
Pick after pick, punish after punish. KC continues to build their lead. 3.8k is now the advantage that they find themselves with. And look at where a lot of that gold is sitting. Canna in the top side of the map, both mid and AD carry find themselves with small advantages. Atomization isn't that dramatic outside of the top lane matchup, but things are really starting to get scary for G2.
Weaver's Wall comes out yet again, and you say that indeed it is. Hansama now on the wrong side of dodge, followed up and dunked by Canna. He only gets shutdowns, he only pummels you into the ground, and KC's top laner, there is no way you can let him be the one who finds you as his flash was burned, but G2 lose again.
KC are everywhere in this game. They send Yike to take Dragon. They move Vladi and Targamas to cover a potential Anakin turn, and now they're on top side again.
And now again, they're going to zone it out. Labrov just knows he has to die for his 5th time in this grand final. A kill goes over to KC. Labrov is dead. And Baron might not be up, but that Anakin is free taking.
It's pick after pick, and they're doing it so quickly. The vision that they have of G2 to catch Hansama of all people out was crazy. Really decisive action there from Vladi as he cuts off the escape route from Hansama, sets up for Targamas to connect the Rell ultimate, and then Canna just closes it out. 3-0-1 now for the Aatrox, and a 2k individual lead over Broken Blade.
This is a pummeling. This is honestly the biggest beating G2 have taken all playoffs long, and KC are looking clean off the back of this. They've been in so much control this entire game.
And it's once again at the hands now of a Korean Aatrox. So, sorry to hit the wounds deep, but bro, Canna, at the start of the split, we were talking backstage and how his intro into the LEC was insane, right? And of course, he was here last year, but for this year, his debut was nuts. And then we go through splits, and yeah, a little bit middling, but he still has very potent performances. With a lead, I think he's a player that you can believe in to help carry this game, as now with a 4k gold lead, Dragon Soul we talked about, Baron now spawning, and the Aatrox of Rebirth. KC are running this map, and G2 are scared to go past inner turret.
I like the pace of the game that we're seeing from KC, but they need to keep this up because G2 are a team that is known for finding angles of attack. They get very creative with ways in which they punish you, and if you make a misstep, they will look to try and force it. And as I say that, look at Vladi, isolated in the bot lane.
And a call, the fourth god will come out. Remember, again, he has the rebirth, but a searing charge that keeps him mid-air, and he cannot move any further. Will give 200 gold over. Meanwhile, KC are putting up the tempo, bringing in the push into mid, and Canna's trying to find the pick on Labrov. Buys time, Solar Flare with the the Zenith Blade as well. Canna pops the ulti though and wants to end somebody's world. It might for a game one if they find any more. As a reset imminent here. Canna looking for it as Labrov finally gets out, this time burning his flash. G2 backing away now with the TP to bring in that rebirth Vladi.
Oh, behind Samus from Caliste, the shockwave!
No, the shockwave is good. However, remember that under turret, they're getting bodied. SkewMond runs in. Yike is happy to die here as Canna has run out of ulti. He has no chance but to go on in as a seismic jump. It's still good, and KC, even though it looked a little bit dicey, are trying to outplay the fight, but Hans Sama gets around it and defends well.
The flanking Ezreal is the deadliest with the shockwave from Caps, and also then having access to Caliste on this Ezreal. G2 are able to turn around what was such a dire spot for them.
The Atakan buff doing so much work for KC in this exchange, because Vladi, we were just saying, if you miss position, G2 is the type of team to punish. They find a nice pick onto the bot side, and I think KC wisely set their sights on the mid tier 2. They try to prevent Labrov from actually collapsing with the rest of his team, but then they tunnel too hard on the fight. This is where the priority shifts away from the tower into a full-blown team fight, because they know that Vladi can TP back in.
But watch this, as Vladi's TPing in, Hans Sama comes through, waits out of vision, so KC don't know he's here. And now Caps, great position of the Orianna orb, deletes KC's backline, opens up for Hans Sama to be in the perfect spot. So there's just no front to back for KC. Everyone is vulnerable, everyone is dropping, and Canna tries desperately to take down Broken Blade, but it's Ornn. He doesn't drop that easily.
I mean, it's important to realize that that was effectively a 4-for-1. Of course, the Atakan buff doing a lot of work, mitigating the losses on the side of KC. So in terms of the gold advantage, they still sit very comfortable, and the Soul is spawning in 45 seconds.
Let's not forget, the gold might be 4K in the lead. Side note is that G2 is starting to get some of these upgraded items. So around 1,000, I believe, is still the threshold as we add on top. Might not be as egregious as you think right now, but that Soul, as you said, is a big fight coming up.
I think the things that we need to look at, though, are the flashes. So both carries on both sides have their flashes, but Canna's flash is about to come up, which is so crucial for an Aatrox in these fights. You want to be able to go for the flash Q3, the flash follow-up on so many of these engages. So KC, I think, going to try and play it slow and wait for that spell to come up.
Look at the top wave. Canna able to get that push in, has that constant side lane threat. He's looking for a potential flank right now. Caps is desperate for one more level. The third point in his ultimate would be a lot of valuable damage.
Someone's going to be crying now. Engages there from Targamas. The seismic shot was brilliant as well. The King of Europe has the shockwave, but he's down. The Rebels advance, and forward they march with Canna at the helm. Onto Labrov will get yet another. As the ulti expires, it matters not. There's still a kill in his back pocket. G2 with 3, KC with 4. Broken Blade with the seismic shot. That's going to send him to hell. KC in our opening game in the finals are kicking G2's ass.
KC are painting the town with the blue blood of G2, making sure that they don't get a look in as Soul is taken for KC.
Another fantastic fight from KC. The flank comes through from Canna, the engage from Targamas. KC have to be filled with nothing but confidence right now as they set their sights on the Baron.
It's warded up, at least. It's a control ward to get rid of the fact that G2 had some vision there, now cleared away, trying to fake the start. KC, not hard committing, just trying to bring SkewMond into the fray as we look at a replay and see how this fight started its brew.
So look at the mini-map. You'll notice that it doesn't actually start with the Canna flank. It actually engages with Targamas. Nice follow-up there. The fact that the shockwave still comes through from Caps is good damage, but at this point, G2 are just scattered. Hans Sama is forced to retreat immediately. SkewMond can't really access the backline either, and it just becomes target after target for KC as they find 2 and convert it into a 3rd.
You can see Labrov scratch his face, was not expecting that, and I don't think a lot of people expected it from Targamas either. He has had a fantastic step up this year on KC, and you can see engages like that is the reason that KC have been able to rely on him so effectively.
And in game 1, we find ourselves with an interesting stat line as the King of Europe sits with a scoreline of 0-4-1, and he's going to be the target once more.
With a nature's grasp that lines the hallways, it hurts. Canna, you're right, in the best spot at the best time. A call the Forge God might make it the worst of Solar Flare. He sent skyward. I take it back, maybe too high because KC was still so far away.
KC couldn't lock anyone down in a position to start the fight, so it made it very easy for G2 to just turn onto the flanking Aatrox and take him down. And now Baron is still up and available, and KC have to commit.
The problem is that I don't think that's an easy Baron to take. You're playing against a Pope Varus, and this Taliyah The Taliyah still has ulti available, so does Caliste.
Yeah.
To start this objective off, G2 might feel like they have to in order to get a fight, but KC have a lot of tools to stall.
G2 are just trying to bait. They know SkewMond has that flash ultimate, and then you can have the immediate shockwave follow-up from Caps. That will ruin Caliste and Vladi's health bar immediately, but G2, they don't feel comfortable. They're going to be happy with just a little bit.
Close call there with the lens. Power blue side there. Face checking Baron as red obviously a lot harder.
I like this play. I like this play. G2 have just reset only now. KC are going to be the ones to force this because, again, they didn't expend anything. The TP is going to come through from Canna. His ultimate's about to come off cooldown, and now the pressure is back onto G2.
But how fast is it going to go down with the lethality comp? You can see there, 5, 6, 5, and we're sitting at the edge now with Nature's Grasp as well. True Shot Barrage going to scout it out, but it's going to be gone. No steal can do. KC run out as 5, and G2 want to punish. Right now, they're on the right side of the map. They've got enhanced recalls. It's only Canna here. G2 get nothing.
No hesitation, no fear. KC are treating G2 just like any other team. So many teams have failed to play with that level of confidence. But KC, this is just another Sunday for them as they pick up the Baron, a 6.5k gold lead, and Elder in 3 minutes.
And with this, it makes it so easy now to just keep this pressure up, look for these outer turrets, start to get that last tick of gold over into KC before the next big fight. And the fact you have the Infernal Soul makes the poke from Caliste, from Vladi, so much more painful to try and manage underneath these structures. And you have to sit there in a shooting range as G2 to try and clear out these waves.
And I know stat lines, score lines can often be disingenuous, but I really want to highlight Vladi's 2, 1, and 11. He's been involved in the team's 13 of their 15 kills. He has been so active and engaged in this game, and he's been a massive playmaker for KC in game 1.
Not the first time we're talking up Vladi either. I know the desk opened with it. I know we're going to be talking about him all day. Like, one of the most consistent mids, especially when Caps has had his ups and downs throughout the split.
Oh, yeah.
Vladi has been someone worth talking about consistently. Feels like he holds together KC, as even right now, the pressure around him mounts up and enables him to get that inner turret and bot moving to 7,500 gold lead with this Infernal Soul that they got in the last fight.
And you can see G2 are struggling now to find answers. They want to try and move in towards Canna on midway with both the Leona and the Vi, but Canna's just going to step away, so G2's answer not really going to come to fruition.
This game is going to come down to the Elder, which is the best case scenario for G2. The reality is that they still have all of their inhibitors intact. While there is still some time left on the Baron, I don't expect KC to do enough damage for G2 to really be afraid of it. SkewMond, he's going to be fine. So this Elder is going to be crucial because it was designed to end games. That is the point. So if G2 find it, it's an easy comeback angle.
But the thing is, even if G2 get it, there's still so much on the side of the map of KC they have to take, like all the outer turrets, then the inhibitors, then try and get to a Nexus. So I think for G2, it is a start on the comeback road, whereas for KC, this could just end this game right here.
At least Baron getting its full value. You look at the Red Bull Baron power play and it just about finishes off this turret in mid. It would have been a second inner, I believe, from the total play. It would be such a statement as well. Let's not forget that, you know, we come in every split, we're like, it's G2 take on who? Who's the challenger this time? Is it Fnatic again? The PDS? We came in today and a lot of people are like, yeah, KC, the underdogs. Such a big statement piece for the opening game. As that turret eventually does fall down, we get closer to 8,000 gold. What is starting to be, not an insurmountable, but a very big bridge that G2 have to somehow cross.
The only issue for KC is the lack of flank opportunities for Canna. They haven't really established vision in the spot side jungle. There is no TP available just yet, and there's only really that one ward at the back over here, which they might be able to look for, but this is why G2 feel confident to step up. They are still very strong in the front to back, especially if they can get access to Caliste and to Vladi, but Caliste having that spell shield will make that a little bit easier for him to manage.
Inside track towards mid right now as well. That's objective bounty gold, so turret that extra bit valuable as KC hold the river, still in their control. Elders spawn, they start it, they try and bait.
It's a bit awkward for KC right now as they're being shepherded around. Targamas separated from his team as the Elder starts off. Look at the positioning of Caps.
It's a nuisance, isn't it? True Shot Barrage gets some damage down. That's big from Han Sama. Vladi eats some of the fruit lettuce in the river as 6k is now the held. Nature's Grasp the zone out. KC want to try and flip, maybe turn for the fight. True Shot Barrage, or rather the ult from the Ornn is disengaged from. Canna flashes and knocks down Broken Blade. And now he's got a reset. Fly, Canna fly. Watch the Aatrox with Infernal. Once again, Rock Europe 12. Yes, SkewMond got the Elder, but it doesn't matter. There was a steal
just looking to make the revolution a reality. They beat G2 in the team fight, and while they will be denied the Elder, they've set their sights on the base in what was a terrifying play from Canna, ripping apart the backline.
KC took a risk in the draft and it has paid off massively. What a game one from KC to put themselves and their names forward.
10 seconds on Broken Blades.
Let's see. I've seen enough Nexus held. True shot barrage, or rather Chains of Corruption. Caliste down. He'll survive this solar flare, but as Zenith's played in, Labrov trying to delay. Nexus is bare. He's dead. Everyone respawning at half HP. Caliste is autoing a flash away. And KC do it in style, but they get the job done in the opening game of finals.
Of course, it's only game one, and we shouldn't jump to conclusions, but that was a strong opening statement from the challengers against the champions of Europe.
We have to see though, because as you say, Fearless Draft is nothing to trifle with, and it is a long L series.
And we're going to find out how it moves on next game two right after this.
He doesn't like that. Look at him, he's a good boy, but he don't like that.
Maybe we could play some A rounds or something like that. I mean, this is map, right? New towers, new objectives.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat. Red Bull gives you wings.